You got Putin, by the way. We haven't talked about Russia. I was in Russia for the LA Times when Gorbachev was in power. And Putin was a guy in St. Petersburg, Leningrad. And Yeltsin that was the great white hope of the U.S. He'll bring about a real capitalism. And Yeltsin was a hopeless drunk, and the capitalism they brought about, crony capitalism, was a horror, and managed to make communism look good economically. And they brought in Putin. It was the U.S. that brought Putin into power and got Yeltsin to bring him there. And he defeated the communists in a critical election. That's how Putin got elected. And Putin comes in. He wanted this big capitalism. He even wanted to join NATO. He thought this was going to be a great deal with the United States. And that was all betrayed. They just wanted to rip off the average Russian. And I want to say one point about this national. We're all for the Ukraine. I'm against war of any kind. I'm against invasions. I don't condone what Putin did. But the idea that these borders are sacred and that Russian-speaking people in a part of the Ukraine don't also have the right, we decided that Texas and California didn't belong to Mexico. We decided it didn't matter what the people thought. Since when are we sacred about borders? What are we talking about here? And that was all a part of the failure to resolve the Cold War in a good way. I mean, Ronald Reagan, bless him, the best thing he ever did, looks Gorbachev in the eyes and says, we can work something out. And everybody, all the neoconservatives panic. And what do they do, by the way? They end up in the Biden administration. The people who have, said we have to have a war now with Russia are the old neocons that used to, be Republicans. And the Democrats, you ask me, why does Nancy go there? Because that's the way they think they're going to win the midterms and stay in power in the next election. They're more patriotic. And what comes with patriotism is a big defense budget. There's a lot of money that's being passed. Sure, we throw billions at the Ukraine, but profit is made by American companies. And so the Democrats can then say, we're going to bring jobs back. The only jobs they seem to know how to bring back are the jobs that killing machines. That's what it is. I'll tell you, I was very disappointed. It wasn't just Pelosi, who really has not shown a lot of integrity on many issues. But Ed Markey, who's the senator from Massachusetts, this guy I admired. Ed Markey was so concerned about nuclear war, when as a congressman. And what is he doing there? He goes to Taiwan. China has made it very clear. Look, the government in Taiwan claims they're the government of China. It's the old Kuomintang. They conquered Taiwan when they fled, and they have always said we are the legitimate government of China. This is why it's non-negotiable for the Chinese government, okay? And they think they've established their legitimacy. And here's Ed Markey, who knows all that. What is he doing? He's going there and giving the finger to the Chinese mainland government. What do you want? You really want, violence there, and you're going to back Taiwan, and you're going to get that'll make Vietnam look like a picnic, make Afghanistan look like a nothing thing, and at the same time, you're trying to provoke Russia. Where is the peace movement? Where is the peace? By the way, there was not one Democrat that voted against this big military buildup and support for increasing violence in Ukraine. And what happens when one of these weapon systems that were supplied by Germany, another country that once used to care about peace after having embraced fascism in the most violent war? No, what if one of their weapons actually takes out a city or part of a civilian population? Do the Russians then send one of their super missiles and take out a German city? What are we talking about here? Are we going to take out their ships in Crimea? Will they take out U.S. ships? And then it's all over. It's all over because the idea, and what's happened now is we have a restoration of a most evil idea that nuclear war can be winnable. This is what I wrote about. I wrote a whole book with enough shovels and everything. I interviewed all these people. I even had a long interview with Reagan. I think I convinced him that this was nonsense. And then he said, yeah, I know it's nonsense, but we're not monsters like the Russians are. It's always that thing. Now we have this thing. We're trusting. We say Putin is a madman. Putin is just out for himself. Putin may be sick in the head. There are all these stories.
Right.
Yet we're trusting Putin not to use his nuclear
Right.
weapons.
Exactly.
Where
Right.
does that come from?
That's
Suddenly
totally
we say,
incoherent.
no, the guy is totally rational. By the way, it was just said by the Ukraine officially, every Russian is basically a war criminal. That was just announced. They should not be allowed to travel.
Right.
They should be punished. Oh, did anybody ever say everyone in the U.S. is a war
Right.
criminal because of our bombing policies, our stuff? But this nonsense, this dangerous nonsense, is now accepted and widely. Why didn't Markey go there to Taiwan and say, hey, guys, you got a lot of economic connection with mainland. Can't you work something out? What are we talking about here? Why do we want a war? Ed Markey, my goodness,
Yeah.
when I was promoting my books, he came to hear me. So did Jamie Raskin. They were at the bookstore, nice guys. What happens to these people? They're so freaked out by Trump and these people that they want to out macho them. That's really what's involved. How can we seem even more irrational and militaristic than Donald Trump?
Right.
You asked me that question. I think it was the most dangerous opportunism, and they're quite willing to destroy civil liberties in that pursuit, because the only way you can justify and support an irrational war is to end up silencing your critics.